This is rental car number 95, and today I'm driving the 2018 Chevy Malibu LT. Now, for those that don't know, the LT refers to the trim level, and we're right around middle of the pack for this one. There's two trim levels below this, the L and the LS, and two above it, the Hybrid and the Premium. So, when you factor in all the bells and whistles on this vehicle, we're looking at about a $26,000 car. And one other quick note that I just wanted to mention is that this is actually the 8th generation of the Malibu. They've been making these since 1964. And there's been a ton of changes over that time period, a lot that I think are really, really interesting. So let's start out by popping the hood, taking a look at what's underneath so I can show you all the great bells and whistles on this vehicle. So this mid-size sedan is front-wheel drive. Just a quick note, but Chevy didn't actually make the switch to front-wheel drive till 1997. So there's a good 30 years where you had rear-wheel drive on the Malibu. Anyway, on this car, you get a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with VVT. That's variable valve timing. I know a lot of you aren't fans of VVTs, but it doesn't really bug me that much. Anyway, you also get a 6-speed automatic transmission. This car has about 160 horsepower, which isn't too bad, and you get some decent gas mileage. 27 miles per gallon in the city and 36 on the highway with a 13-gallon fuel tank. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but there's no twist-off fuel cap, so you do get the new capless technology while you're filling up. And that cap, that fuel cap that I mentioned, is located on the passenger side of the vehicle. Alright, so that's all the specs on the vehicle, and I'm sorry to throw so many numbers at you, but it's good to have those. Personally, for me, I don't really care about numbers. What I care about is what it's like to actually drive the Malibu itself. So here's what I can tell you. Going around corners is fine. I typically test cars like this by going around the same corner in an abandoned weigh station off the interstate, and it performed great. I didn't feel like I was slipping at all, and I felt like I could accelerate pretty hard through the whole corner. And speaking of acceleration, it's decent. You got to remember, this is only a 4-cylinder engine with 160 horses, so you're not going to be the fastest car on the road by any means, but it's kind of peppy. It accelerates nice and smooth. I didn't feel like I was waiting a long time for the car to get up to 60 miles an hour, and it was fun on the interstate. I could pass cars pretty easily, and I didn't feel like I was driving something super slow. And last little thing I want to mention is cabin noise. Look, it is noticeable when you get the car up to about 70 miles an hour, but it's not horrible. I listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks, and when I put the volume at about 30% of max, I could hear things just fine, even with the cabin noise blaring through all the windows. Alright, but enough about performance. Let's jump inside the Malibu so we can see what kind of amenities you're going to get to enjoy while you're driving this vehicle. Alright, so let's start off by talking about the driver's seat. It's fairly comfortable. I drove this car for over 4 hours on the interstate and felt great the whole time. You also get electronic controls to adjust everything, including lumbar support. I found these really easy to use, and I was able to get the seat to a comfortable place pretty quickly. Alright, so let's switch gears and talk about the key fob. Great shape, nice weight to it. 5 buttons on the front: lock, unlock, remote start, trunk release, and panic. Nothing really on the back but the Chevy logo. All in all, I found this thing to work really great. I like my key fobs slightly heavy, so I can actually feel it in my pocket, and this one meets that criteria. And because you get a key fob, it's a remote start feature. It's a circular button located on the dash to the right of the steering wheel. Alright, now that we got the car on, let's talk about the steering wheel itself. You get a number of buttons on the steering wheel. On the left-hand side, you have your cruise controls. Typically, these are on the right-hand side, but hey, no big deal. They work fine. On the right-hand side, you have your controls to interact with your phone, along with the digital screen in the gauge cluster. And then tucked in around back, you also get some volume rockers. These work great. In fact, I love these. They're super intuitive to use, and I kind of reach for them no matter what car I'm in. And then up above the steering wheel, you get a really nice gauge cluster with 4 gauges, and then a very big digital display right in the center. I like this display, specifically because the fonts are so large, so it makes it really easy to view while you're driving. But there's also a lot of great screens that you can access to view all kinds of information about the car. And real quick before we move on, there's actually a compass tucked in the lower left-hand corner of the display. I like that. I don't refer to it often, but when you need it, it's nice to know that it's there. Alright, so that's the steering wheel itself. Let's shift our gaze down into the left and look over here at all the standard controls you get. First off, you get your window controls and your mirror controls right here on the door. Up above, you get your door locks. I like that this includes a small red light that illuminates when the door locks are engaged. It's nice to have that. And then up on the dash you get a dial to switch between all the modes for the headlights: auto, fog lights, etc. And then lastly, down at the floor you get a push pedal parking brake, which is pretty much standard on all Chevys right now, and well, it's something I've come to actually appreciate. Works pretty well. And since we're on this side of the vehicle, let's take a quick look at the side view mirror. Not a whole lot of special bells and whistles here. Just a standard size mirror, no blindside detection. However, there is an extra turn signal indicator on the back of the mirror itself, and that's kind of a nice touch. But moving back into the vehicle and looking up, you have a number of controls up here. First off, there's 3 controls to program garage door openers, if you happen to have 3 actual garage doors to open and close. There's also pretty simple buttons to control the lights that illuminate the cabin, an OnStar button and a panic button, a standard rear view mirror without any controls or anything on it at all, and then probably my favorite feature is the controls for the massive moonroof that's on this vehicle. So the roof opens up in 2 ways, and there's 2 sets of controls. The first set of controls opens up the screen. This pretty much covers the entire roof of the vehicle. And then the second group of controls actually opens up the roof itself, and this is broken up into 2 sections. Only the section above the driver and passenger seat in the front actually opens up. It's also kind of interesting that you get this little screen that pops up when the roof is open to, I guess, control the airflow over the top of the car. And it works pretty well, because even at high speeds, the cabin noise when you have the moonroof open is pretty bearable. Alright, so that's the moonroof. Another great feature is the touchscreen located in the center of the console in the front of the vehicle. This is great. It's a nice size, the colors are bright and easy to look at, and everything is organized using these really large icons, which I love. And those icons are pretty much always present. Even when you're actually in a menu, those icons are located right up top, so you can skip and jump to any menu structure that you need. Everything is really intuitive, and I was able to figure this out really just in seconds of playing around. And if you do get stuck in one of the menus, there are dedicated physical buttons below the screen. You get a home button to jump back to that main menu with all those large icons, and then a volume knob to control the volume. And then another great feature about this display is that if you shift the car into reverse, the rear view camera turns on, I should say, and gives you a pretty nice wide view of the surroundings behind the vehicle with some decent resolution, so it's actually useful. And that's not always true with all these vehicles. Some of them that I've been driving lately, the rear view camera is garbage, but not on the Malibu. They've done a nice quality job here. And then the last thing about this display, and I promise I'm going to move on in just a second, but this also comes fully loaded with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So if you do hook up your cell phone to the display using the USB ports below, you do have connectivity with your cell phone. So I'm using Android Auto here. That just means that some of the apps on my phone are now available on the display itself. And you also get Android's, or I guess I should say Google's, new assistant feature, so you can talk to the car and ask it questions. Like, for example, tell me a joke.
What's invisible and smells like carrots? Bunny farts.
Okay then. Anyway, moving on. Below the center display, you do have your climate controls. I like these because they're relatively simple. All the buttons are large, and they're easy to reach from the driver's seat. Most importantly, you have a dial to control the fan setting, and then another one to control the temperature setting, along with really simple controls in the center to adjust where the air is going to blow from. And then below there you have a nice open storage area along with some ports to connect your cell phone to. There are 2 USB ports, a power port that's going to require an adapter, and then also an auxiliary port. That's that small circular port you see sort of ringed in white color. And behind there is the Gearshift. It's wrapped in a really nice soft leather, and it also has sport shift capability. That's the plus and minus buttons you see right on top of the Gearshift itself. Overall, this works fine, shifts the gears pretty smoothly, and really, I have no complaints. And then next to the Gearshift, you get 2 nice-sized cup holders. These work great. There's also a small storage cutout that's pretty much perfect to prop your cell phone in. And then behind there is a center armrest that opens up to reveal a pretty decent-sized storage area. No power ports or anything down in there, but it's still fairly useful. And then speaking of storage, there's also a glove box. That's a pretty decent size. It's hard to see in the shots that I have for you right here, but if I throw my water bottle in there, I think you can see this is a pretty deep and large space that's, pretty useful. All right, so that's pretty much all the exciting stuff from the front seat. I hope you'll agree that this is really an attractive layout that the Malibu has right now. But anyway, let's shift focus a little bit and jump in the back seat so we can see what kind of amenities your passengers are going to get to enjoy. First off, and most importantly, legroom back here is abundant. I'm 6 feet tall, that driver's seat is pushed back a really good ways, and I still have about 6 to 8 inches between my knees and the back of that seat. That is fantastic. And then another fantastic feature is on the back of that center armrest for the front seat passengers, you have 2 dedicated vents. And then down below towards the floor, you have 2 USB ports, a large 3-pronged power port in the back, and then another port to charge up your devices, but that one's going to require an adapter. And I can't tell you how much I love having an actual power port down here. I forget my adapters all the time, and it's just nice to know that no matter what, you can just plug in whatever you need right back in here and charge it up. All right, but we're not done, because on the back of the front seats you do have these cloth-like pockets. I'm never really a big fan of these, but the ones on the Malibu do appear to be constructed out of nice materials, and they are lined in felt, so they should help keep anything you store in there free from scratches. Also, there's a center armrest that folds down and does reveal 2 cup holders for you to use back here. And then finally, the car seat anchors are a little bit unique. Typically, they're located in the crease between the actual seat and the place where you rest your back, I guess I should say. Anyway, they're not located there. They're located right here in this small crease on the actual seat itself. You just kind of pry open the fabric and it reveals the car seat anchor in a really convenient spot. Super easy to get access to. I'm a big fan of this. I hate it when car seat anchors are buried deep in the seats and hard to get access to. Not true on the Malibu. They've done a nice job with this. Now that's pretty much everything in the back seat that's worth talking about. The last thing I want to kind of touch on is that these back seats do fold down. I couldn't figure out how to do it in the cabin of the vehicle itself. The only way I could figure out how to collapse the seats was to go into the trunk and pull on these 2 levers right here to release those seats. Once you do that, however, the seats fold down really easily with really no effort at all, and then you kind of open up the vehicle a little bit more to take advantage of a little bit more storage space to haul some larger items. All right, so let's close things out by popping open the trunk one last time using the key fob and taking a look at the storage space back here without those rear seats being folded down. Because even when those seats are folded up, you still have plenty of storage space back here. It's a nice rectangular shape that I think you can use to get plenty of suitcases, golf clubs, gym bags, groceries back here without any trouble at all. And it's also worth noting that underneath the floor of the trunk space, underneath this styrofoam feeling kind of piece, there's also a spare tire down here with a little bit of extra room to keep a couple of tools and stuff down here. All right, so that's the trunk space, and that's pretty much everything on the 2018 Chevy Malibu LT that I think is worth mentioning. So I was lucky enough to have this car for about 2 days. I think I put about 200 miles on this one, mostly highway miles. Anyway, I think I have enough time behind the wheel to give you a recommendation, and that's really what you should be asking me at this point in the video, right? Would I recommend this rental car to you? Yes or no? Yes, look, clearly yes. There is so much to love about the LT trim level of the 2018 Chevy Malibu. Not only do you get a lot of great technology to play around with and a really good moonroof that's quite a bit of fun to use in the summer, but you also get a decent vehicle that gets good gas mileage. It's kind of peppy when it comes to acceleration and handles really well. So really, if you're looking to rent a mid-sized 4-door sedan for your upcoming trip, I'd highly recommend taking this one out for a spin. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time when I review my 96th rental car. That'll be the 2018 Ford Edge Platinum. I'll see you then.